Hello students, in this video we continue with our chapter 9 of History, Traders, Kings and Pilgrims. So this is the third video of this chapter. In the previous video we talked about the Silk Route, how silk was made in China and was taken all the way with the help of the Silk Route to Europe. There were two routes. First was the land route, and another one, which has been marked by blue, was the sea route, where just the silk was exported or taken to Europe with the help of ships. Another important topic that we studied was the spread of Buddhism, how Buddhism spread to different countries of the world. Let us now talk about the quest of the pilgrims. So, as the traders journeyed to the distant lands in caravans and ships, pilgrims often traveled with them. Now, who were these pilgrims? Pilgrims are men and women who undertake journeys to holy places in order to offer worship. So basically, pilgrims are the people who come from very, very far away places to holy places or in places which have religious importance. For example, people from all over the world visit Bodh Gaya even today because it is a very important place of Buddhism. And these pilgrims are also called Tirth Yatri in Hindi. The best known of these are the Chinese Buddhist pilgrims, Fajian, who came to the subcontinent about 1600 years ago, Yuan Zhang, who came around 1400 years ago, and I Qing, who came about 50 years after Yuan Zhang. They came to visit places associated with the life of the Buddha, as well as famous monasteries. So, see, these people came all the way from China to India. Each of these pilgrims left an account of his journey. They wrote of the dangers they encountered on their travels, which often took years, of the countries and the monasteries they visited, and the books they carried back with them. So basically, whatever they saw in their journey, whatever things they experienced, they all wrote about it in their accounts. And today, the accounts or the books which have been written by these pilgrims are very important in understanding history of that time. This is a picture of Fajian. So you can see he's carrying all of his belongings in his back. And this is the picture of Yuan Sang. How Fajian returned to China. So basically, Fajian has mentioned a story, a small incident, how he returned back home from Bengal. Fajian began his journey back home from Bengal. He boarded a ship belonging to some merchants. They had barely traveled for 2 days when they were caught in a storm. The merchants began throwing their merchandise overboard so as to lighten the load and save the ship from sinking. Fajian threw away his meager personal belongings but clung to his books and statues of Buddha that he had collected. Finally, the storm stopped after 13 days, and he has described this incident in his accounts, how he was stuck in the storm, and thankfully his books were safe. Also, the statues which he carried to China from India. Now, Yuan Zhang, who took the land route back to China through the northwest and Central Asia, carried back with him the statues of Buddha made of gold, silver, and sandalwood, and over 600 manuscripts loaded on the backs of 20 horses. So look at the amount of accounts he wrote. There were 600 manuscripts, which is a lot. Over 50 manuscripts were lost when the boat on which he was crossing the Indus capsized. He spent the rest of his life translating the remaining manuscripts from Sanskrit into Chinese. So basically, he wrote his manuscripts in Sanskrit language. Now, Nalanda, a unique center of Buddhist learning. Nalanda was the one of the earliest universities of India. Yuan Zhang, the other pilgrims, spent time studying in Nalanda, Bihar, the most famous Buddhist monastery of the period. This is how he describes it. So basically, in Nalanda, there was a very famous Buddhist monastery, and later on, it was also established as Nalanda University. The teachers are men of the highest ability and talent. They follow the teachings of Buddha in all sincerity. The rules of the monastery are strict and everyone has to follow them. Discussions are held throughout the day and the old and young mutually help one another. So, he has actually written a lot about the time he spent in Nalanda, which was one of the best experiences of his life. Let us now talk about a completely different topic, that is the beginning of bhakti. So, apart from Buddhism, this was also the time when the worship of certain deities means gods and goddesses, which became a central feature of later Hinduism, gained importance. These deities, including Shiva, Vishnu, and goddess such as Durga. So, these Shiva, Vishnu, and Durga, their worship, they became very important, especially in terms of Hinduism. These deities were worshipped through bhakti. We all know what is bhakti, an idea that became very popular at this time. Bhakti is generally understood as a person's devotion to his or her chosen deity. So, bhakti means devotion to the God. Anybody, whether rich or poor, belonging to the so called high or low castes, man or woman, could follow the path of bhakti. So, bhakti was something, वो एक ऐसी चीज थी जिसको सब लोग फॉलो कर सकते थे. It doesn't matter you belong to rich family or poor, you belong to high caste or low caste, everybody could follow the path of bhakti. The idea of bhakti present in the Bhagavad Gita. So the idea of bhakti was first written or given in the book Bhagavad Gita, the sacred book of the Hindus, which is included in the Mahabharata. In this, Krishna, the god, asks Arjun, his devotee and friend, to abandon all dharmas and take refuge in him, as only he can set Arjun free from evil. So, कृष्ण ने अर्जुन से ये बोला, अर्जुन जो उनके भक्त भी थे और उनके दोस्त भी थे, कृष्ण ने अर्जुन को बोला कि वो सारे धर्म को त्याग दे और कृष्ण की भक्ति में विलीन हो जाए, और इसी से कृष्ण अर्जुन को सारे ईविल से फ्री कर पाएंगे. This form of worship gradually spread to different parts of the country. Those who followed the system of bhakti emphasized devotion and individual worship of God or goddess rather than performance of elaborate sacrifices. So, inside bhakti or in the system of bhakti, most importance was given to इंडिविजुअल वर्शिप. इंडिविजुअल वर्शिप मीन्स हर किसी का अपना एक तरीका होता है भगवान को प्रे करने का. तो भक्ति में इसी चीज को इम्पोर्टेंस दी जाती थी. इम्पोर्टेंस वॉज गिवन टू पर्सनल वर्शिप because they believe that God is inside us, God is inside our heart, rather than performance of elaborate rituals. ये जो बड़े बड़े यज्ञ हवन और बहुत ज़्यादा पैसा खर्च करके जो चीज़ें होती है, उन सब चीज़ों को भक्ति में रिजेक्ट कर दिया गया था. According to this system of belief, if a devotee worships the chosen deity with pure heart, सच्चे दिल से, the deity मतलब होता है God or goddess, the deity will appear in the form in which he or she may desire. So, the deity could be thought of as human being, lion, tree, or any other form. Once this idea gained acceptance, artists made beautiful images of these deities. Now look at this picture which has been given in your book. This is Vishnu. It's an avatar of Vishnu as Varaha, an image from Iran. Iran in Madhya Pradesh. This magnificent statue is special form of Vishnu, the Varaha or boar. Boar is wild pig. According to Purans, Vishnu took the shape of a boar in order to rescue the earth, which had sunk into water. Here, the earth is also shown as a woman. Now, let us understand what exactly bhakti means. Bhakti comes from Sanskrit term bhaj, meaning to divide or share. This suggests an intimate two-way relationship between deity and the devotee. Bhakti is directed towards Bhagvat, which is often translated as God, but also means one who possesses and shares bhag, literally good fortune or bliss. The devotee, known as the Bhakt or the Bhagvat, shares his or her chosen deity's bhag. So basically, bhakti का मतलब होता है the relation you have with your God, the way you pray to the God with pure heart. Most bhakti literature tells us that riches, learning, and high status do not automatically ensure a close relationship with the deity. Now, of course, we know that भगवान सिर्फ उसकी मदद नहीं करते जिसके पास जो रिच है, जो पढ़ा लिखा है, हाई स्टेटस का है. सो बेसिकली भक्ति रिजेक्टेड all these things. Even a person who is very, very poor, he can lead his life to bhakti. Because the deities, all the gods and goddesses were special, these images of deity were often placed within the special homes, places as that we describe as temples. We will learn about these temples in chapter 11. Bhakti inspired some of the best expressions in art, sculpture, poetry, and architecture. Let us look at Hindu. The word Hindu, like the term India, is derived from river Indus. It was used by Arabs and Iranians to refer to the people lived to the east of the river and to their cultural practices, including religious beliefs. So basically, Hindu was the word which was used by Arabs for the people living towards the east of the Indus River, especially the people living in North India. So elsewhere in the world, about 2000 years ago, Christianity emerged in West Asia. Jesus Christ was born in Bethlehem, which was then part of Roman Empire. Christ's teachings were that he was the savior of the world. He also taught people to treat others with love and trust others. just as they themselves wanted to be treated. So basically, during this time where we had Buddhism and Bhakti in India, in other parts of the world, there was Christianity, which was becoming very important part of the people's life.